So today was the second day of Packers OTAs, but it was the first day that the media was allowed to be there. So even though there was a practice yesterday, we have no idea what happened there yesterday. But I want to go over every single Packers beat reporter. They were putting out tweets about what was happening at practice today. And so I want to share what I found were the most interesting things from these beat reporters. I pretty much found everything that was somewhat important, compiled it. I actually wrote a newsletter on it already. So if you want to read through it, I will leave a link in the description down below. And I'll be writing a lot more over there as well, usually before I make a video. So if you want to get that as quickly as possible, you can sign up for my newsletter in the description. But now let's go over the biggest things that happened today at Packers practice. We'll touch on offense, defense, Jordan Love probably being the position or the I guess, topic that most people want to know the most about. But we'll start off here from Matt Schneidman, saying this: Packers veterans who I don't spot at the first open practice of voluntary OTAs. Dallin Levitt, Jair Alexander, Rasul Douglas, Jonathan Garvin, David Bakhtiari, Elton Jenkins, Preston Smith, Eric Stokes, and Rashawn Gary are here but not going through drills. So those are the players who did not show up today at OTAs. They are voluntary. And if we look back to last year, we all know Aaron Rodgers didn't show up to OTAs. That was sort of a big topic of discussion. But I think when you look at the voluntary OTAs, obviously I think it would be great to have everyone there, because I think that the more that everyone's there together, the veterans are all there, the leaders are all there, the more that you can sort of build that team chemistry. And when some of the leaders aren't there, I do think it slightly hurts, just because it helps if they are there. So if they're not there, it may slightly hurt. But I don't think it's that big of a deal, but at the same time, it would be nice to see every single person there. But that's just sort of how it is. Some guys just don't show up for these OTAs and continue to work on their own. Then here we have from Mike Clemens saying, good to see 21 Eric Stokes here walking on sidelines, observing OTA practice, now participating some in warm-ups, doing some leg lifts, and a little jumping around. So Eric Stokes injured his ankle last November, and since that point, there has been questions as to exactly when he's going to be fully healthy. So the fact that he wasn't fully practicing shows he's not quite there when it comes to being fully ready to play. It is still somewhat early in the offseason. We have a few months till training camp start, I guess 2 months now. So he still has 2 months to be ready for training camp, and I assume he'll be ready come week 1, but we'll sort of have to keep an eye on that entire situation. Then from Rob Domofsky, here but not practicing, rehabbing limited, Eric Stokes, Lou Nichols, 7th round running back, Jake Hansen, Gene DeLance, another offensive lineman, and then Grant Dubose, who was the 7th round wide receiver draft pick. So finishing. Gary ACL actually did some jog through 11 on 11. So that was good to see. The fact that Gary was even jogging is awesome. He tore his ACL about 6 months ago, early November. Typically, it takes guys anywhere from 9 to 12 months to heal from an ACL tear. Then they have to come in, shake that rust off. Sometimes things can go worse, as we saw with David Bakhtiari over the past couple seasons, continuing to deal with that ACL tear. But hopefully with Gary, he can be fully fine when he does come back. We still don't know when he will be back. Maybe he's ready week 1, but at the same time, he could miss some of the first part of the season. Then moving on here, from Andy Herman, NFL, on Twitter, Ennis Gaines and Rudy Ford working as jammers on punt return team. Nixon, Reed, Dobbs working as punt returners. Jugs, machine looks fantastic, just nuking perfect spiral after perfect spiral. One of the most interesting positions to watch this offseason when in OTAs, in training camp, is going to be the safety battle, just because with Adrian Amos gone, it does seem like there's an open spot at safety. It sounds to me, from the way Joe Barry has been speaking, that Darnell Savage will likely be one of the starters. If we look at PFF's grade, last year he was graded as the 87th safety out of 88. So part of me would wonder if maybe his job would be up in the air. But from what I've read, or from what I've heard from the coaches, it sounds like they plan on Savage being one of the starters, which means the other starter position is somewhat a competition. Personally, I think Rudy Ford will finish off and sort of claim that spot next to Savage, just because in about 400 or so snaps last season, I think Rudy Ford played pretty well at safety. And there are a few other safeties here the Packers have brought in. We still have Ennis Gaines on the roster. We brought in the starter from the Texans, Jonathan Owens, a few weeks back. We also brought in Tarvarius Moore, who used to play for the 49ers. We also drafted 7th round safety Anthony Johnson. And so just as it is with pretty much every position when you're looking at some of the final roster spots for each position, those guys who make up those final spots need to contribute on special teams, because in all likelihood, they're not going to come in and play a ton of snaps at their position if they're one of the final guys at their position. So they need to be able to come in and produce on special teams. So we see Ennis Gaines and Rudy Ford getting some work on the punt return team. And Rudy Ford initially last year was brought in because of his special teams ability when it comes to being a gunner on punt returns. And then here we have a picture from Rob Domofsky of Jordan Love saying, Jordan Love QB1 on the grass. There were some different highlights floating around with Jordan Love, not in like 11-on-11 situations because typically reporters and people aren't supposed to film those, but we do have some videos of him throwing. If I have time later, I'll try to post some. If I have time, I may or may not, but I wanted to focus on getting these updates out sooner. And yeah, you can check those out, as I said, on my newsletter as well, which I write a ton on my newsletter. I'm starting to write a lot more. I'm sort of focusing a lot on it right now. And so I appreciate all you guys who have subscribed to it. And if you want to click the link in the description, you can receive that. And as I said, sometimes I write my newsletter first and then we'll make a video just to sort of prepare. And so if you want to get stuff as fast as possible, you can sign up there. And as I said, I wrote it earlier, maybe in 30 minutes to an hour ago, I put out this update. So those of you guys who have the newsletter got that first in writing. So here we have Jordan Love. So it's just great to see Love out there playing, now that he is the starter here in Green Bay. I hope he comes in and has a successful career in Green Bay. We just don't know yet. I think that he has insane potential. He has a really, high athletic ability, strong arm. His footwork seems to have improved. The coaches seem very high on the progress he's taken over the past couple seasons. And so we really won't know the answer until the season starts come September. We can pick up a little bit from these OTAs, but I don't think you can take a ton away from this. Like, I'm not going to come away with some crazy new opinion based on OTAs for Jordan Love, but I think there are some things we can obviously learn from seeing sort of how he performs. Then here we have from Andy Herman, Sean Ryan lining up in some drills at center. That's new. Meanwhile, Zach Tom running the same drill at right guard. Now Tom back to right tackle for the next drills. He's going to likely be moved around a ton this offseason. So when it comes to this offensive line, Bakhtiari and Jenkins not at the OTAs today, which means some of these other guys may have a little bit more of a chance to practice. Sean Ryan is an interesting guy to watch because he was drafted ahead of Zach Tom last year in the 3rd round. He played 0 snaps last year, and he got suspended for 6 games late last November for PEDs, I believe it was. And so luckily that suspension was served at the end of the season, so he has a chance to play this year. But we'll have to see if he can sort of work his way up the offensive line room. Then moving on here to Rob Domofsky saying the Packers' #1 offensive line, which is there at OTAs. Left tackle Josh Nijman, left guard Royce Newman, center Josh Myers, right guard John Runyon, and right tackle Zach Tom. So with Bakhtiari and Jenkins not there, the Packers put Nijman at left tackle and Newman at left guard. And it looks to me right now like Newman is a backup guard. If we look at the potential starting lineup, I would say it's Bakhtiari, Jenkins left guard, potentially Myers at center, Runyon right guard, Zach Tom right tackle, potentially Nijman right tackle. And we also heard Adam Stinovich say last week, Packers offensive coordinator, that Tom will be competing at right guard, potentially even center. So Josh Myers' job isn't necessarily safe. Then here we have from Ryan Wood, Rudy Ford gets first safety rep aside Darnell Savage for Packers defense, which is what I hope he stays there this offseason and once the season starts. Then Bill Huber, first pass of the day, Love to Watson, not on same page. Second run, blown up by Enagbare and Clark. Second pass to Nixon, blitzes and bats down a Love bootleg. So first pass of the day, Love and Watson don't seem to be on the same page. And it's going to take some time, I think, for Love to build this chemistry with these receivers here because he's, coming into his first year. All these receivers are still very, very young, and they haven't had a ton of time to really mesh together. And so I think one of the biggest things about these offseason practices are for these guys to start to build that chemistry. So when preseason comes around, when the season comes around, they'll have some a little bit more of a connection than maybe they do right now. Then from Matt Schneidman, Jordan Love's first completion of 11 on 11 comes on a crosser to rookie tight end Luke Musgrave for a first down with Darnell Savage trailing. So Luke Musgrave, 2nd round tight end, he has a ton of potential. We'll have to see if he can get things clicking with Jordan Love. It looks like they had a nice play here, which is awesome to see. And then we have here from Matt Schneidman saying Love's first bomb is to Christian Watson down the middle, a little wobbly and underthrown. Falls incomplete with 3 defenders in the vicinity. So another not so great throw, but it's okay. It'll get better. You'll see. Then it says here, nice little run by new running back Emmanuel Wilson. Cut it back outside. Brenton Cox lost on the play. Lucas Van Ness practiced both standing up and with his hand on the ground in his first team drills. A.J. Dillon looks spry with a little wiggle in the backfield. That's from Andy Herman, NFL. So Emmanuel Wilson is a 2023 undrafted free agent added by the Packers yesterday. And so he makes it, he's the 6th running back on this roster, and we'll see if he can do anything here. I would assume it's Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon, the potentially Lou Nichols or Patrick Taylor, maybe Tyler Goodson, but we'll have to wait and see there. And then Lucas Van Ness, who is getting some work today. I saw a few different videos floating around on Twitter. He looks massive, huge, powerful. So I'm very excited to see how the Packers work him into their defense this season. Then here for Matt Schneidman, a big update here in Green Bay. Matt Orzech is the first long snapper up. Looks like he has the edge over Broughton Hatcher in the most anticipated battle of the offseason. So for all you long snapper fans out there you go. You got some long snapper information. Then here from Andy Herman, Campbell baited Love in the first red zone drill, but dropped a pick. Next pass was incomplete. Looked like Dobbs slipped a bit. May have been tugged by Thomas. Love throws wide of Toure. Next play looked like a sack of Love. Pocket collapses, but Hamilton beat Yosh. So a few poor throws by Love. Campbell drops a potential interception. Dobbs slips, and then it looks like he overthrows Toure. So starting off, not looking so hot, but as I said, things will get better. Then here we have from Andy Herman. Love's first completion in red zone comes after he buys time and escapes the pocket to his right. Short touchdown pass to Jaden Reed. So Jaden Reed, second round wide receiver from Michigan State, 4.37 speed as timed by the Packers, 5'11", 185 or so pounds. He is very speedy, very shifty, and I think the Packers will likely start him out in the slot when the season does start. And so to see him, already starting to build that chemistry with Love is very exciting to see. Then from Andy Herman, next play, a very low snap that Love finds a way to handle and throws a quick pass outside to Watson. Looked like he got in. Then for Matt Schneidman, Quay Walker off to the side with head trainer Brian Engel while starting defense did red zone. Helmet off, and he's been crouching over. Walker just went inside with Engel with the team while the team remains outside. So hopefully this isn't some kind of serious injury. Hopefully it's minor, but we have no update up to this point, and I'll see if we do in the future. Then from Wes Hodquitz here on Twitter saying, Van Ness is with reserve unit so far, but his explosiveness is just different. Acceleration is something to see. Then from Andy Herman, Jaden Reed with a nice release and catch over the middle. Made a move and looked awesome. Then he forgot the ball and fumbled clean. Defense picks up the fumble. Interesting coaching point from Matt LaFleur. If there's a fumble in practice, he doesn't want his offensive players going after it. So Jaden Reed, as we said a second ago, had a nice touchdown catch. Then he has a nice play here, but just fumbles the ball, drops it. It sounds to me just like a new guy mistake. This is one of his first practices here in Green Bay, and sometimes these guys will make mistakes. No one's perfect, and so hopefully he'll clean those kind of things up. Then here we have for Matt Schneidman, Keandre Thomas and Corey Ballantyne running with the ones at outside cornerback with Jair or Rasul, without Jair or Rasul here. Ford and Savage at safety, Nixon at nickel, Enigbari and Hollins on the edge with no Gary and Smith. McDuffie second inside linebacker with Campbell. Clark Wyatt slates in the interior defensive line. So unfortunate that the top three safeties aren't able to play, or not safeties, corners aren't able to be here. What's his name? Eric Stokes is there, but obviously still injured. And then Rasul and Jair both not present. So Thomas and Ballantyne, who are more of depth at corner, getting some more snaps. Then from Andy Herman, Keyshawn Nixon with gorgeous coverage on Watson down the sideline. Watson tried to go over him, didn't work, incomplete. Nixon gets praise from the sideline. Love with a gorgeous throw to the corner of the end zone to Dillon out of the backfield, but dropped off the hands. So it's great to hear Love, having a gorgeous throw. We all want to hear that as Packers fans. Hopefully this continues going forward. And then Keyshawn Nixon, he became a household name among Packers fans last year as a kick returner, but I think that we also can't underestimate his ability as a slot corner. I think he played 200 or so snaps last year, allowed a 83.6 passer rating. So he's pretty talented at slot in the corner, slot corner, and so he's doing it well today at OTAs. And so I assume that with Stokes still injured, Nixon will be at slot a lot. And then when Stokes does come back, maybe Rasul kicks inside. We'll have to wait and see, though, how good Nixon plays. Then from Wes Hodquitz, Dontavian Wicks has made a few plays today. Just caught a short fade for a 7-yard TD from Danny Etling. So Dontavian Wicks, fifth-round receiver, who had a up and down last couple of seasons in college, a really, really good junior season. His final season struggled a little bit, dealt with some drop issues, but Packers wide receiver coach last week said he doesn't believe that drops will be an issue. There are more concentration drops, and he believes that Wicks can get things figured out. And so if you turn on his highlights from college, you can see the athleticism he has, his ability to go up, make contested catches. I think he's 6'2" or so. He's very athletically gifted, very shifty, and so I wouldn't underestimate what Wicks could potentially be in this Packers receiver room. And so to see him making plays on this first day or second day is awesome. Then from Bill Huber, And now Love to Watson for a TD versus Nixon with a backflip to punctuate. So that's great to hear. Hopefully that is something we hear for the next 5 to 10 years. Love to Watson for a touchdown. Let's just hope that continues through this offseason and for years and years to come. Then from Andy Herman, Van Ness with a would-be unblocked sack off a bootleg. He comes at you fast, and with his size, you can't really throw over him. He's an intimidating dude. I, for one, am glad that I will never have to attempt to block Lucas Van Ness. It would not go well for me. I know that. But the Packers have a legit weapon in Van Ness to be able to spend, a number 13 pick in a draft on a guy. You're getting one of the top tier players in the class. And so with Van Ness, with how young he is, only 21, with all the tools he has, being 6'5", 270, I think, around that. He's huge, he's fast, he's strong, really all you could want in an edge rusher. So I'm really, really excited to see how the Packers utilize him not only on the outside, but also potentially on the inside as well. Then for Matt Schneidman, and Love with a perfect dart on an out to Romeo Doubs in tight coverage for another 10-yard TD. So Love fitting it in tight coverage. Love it. Then from Matt Schneidman, TJ Slayton with one of the most emphatic swats of a pass at the line I've seen in some time. Love responds with another bullet to Toure for a touchdown. So Love started off somewhat slow from all that I saw. Had a wobbly throw, threw potential, almost pick, but dropped. But then he comes in here, seems to throw touchdown after touchdown, so things seem to pick up for Love. And I think with Love, we need to give him some time. Just if he has some bad plays in practice, doesn't really mean anything. Rodgers, he has bad plays in practice too. So we'll see what happens as time goes by. Then we have here, to finish it off, from Rob Domofsky saying, after a slow start, Jordan Love was effective in the short red zone from the 10 and in with 3 touchdowns. Overall, in the first open OTA and second of the week, he was 6 for 16. Had 3 tipped or batted down, and 1 dropped, and 1 nearly picked off. We'll hear from him soon. So overall, I would say it was a somewhat up and down day, as I already mentioned. Started off slow, picked things up near the end, had some really, really nice throws according to these different reporters. So all in all, we'll keep an eye on Love. We'll see how he progresses. I think it's one of the biggest stories in the NFL this season, in this offseason, is how does Rodgers' successor play? Can Jordan Love continue the tradition of elite quarterback play in Green Bay? And I don't even think that Love needs to be as elite as Aaron Rodgers to be successful in Green Bay. He can even be a good quarterback and have a solid team around him and still be, do enough to get the Packers where they want to go when it comes to, winning in their future. So those are the biggest updates from today. As I said, if you would like to stay up to date with all Packers news, feel free to subscribe to this channel. And if you haven't subscribed to my newsletter, I'm writing a ton over there. If you want to get more information even more quickly, sometimes different kinds of things as well, you can click the link in the description. Feel free to enter your email. Then you'll be signed up to my newsletter and get all that. And I appreciate all you guys who have subscribed to that. We're getting closer to 1,000 subscribers, which is one of my short-term goals. We're at like 840. So if you want to help me, if you want to get some of that information and receive my newsletter, feel free to subscribe. But I appreciate you guys. We will see what else other news comes out sometime soon. I'll keep you guys up to date. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.